Hello everybody. In this video I would like to share just a couple of the things that I have learned over the years about what some people call prepping. And actually all that is just the idea of being prepared, especially when it comes to like food and water and necessities such as that, in the event that there is some interruption in the supply chain and we don't have the normal access to food and water. This could be weather related. It could be something to do with the social unrest due to politics or just anything really. And since I'm spent most of my life on the coast of South Carolina, I've pretty much always had, since as long as I can remember, had what people on the coast call the hurricane kit. And it started out, it was just a little box in the bottom of the closet. It had some food and batteries, typically, first aid stuff, things like that. And you did have to update it once in a while, but for the most part, it just sat there. Never really thought you'd ever really need it. But when after the 2008 crisis, I really started educating myself about what's going on in the economy. And I won't go all into that right now. I've done other videos on that if you want to check that out. But anyway, I decided to go from a little prepping box to a whole closet. And so I set aside a whole closet, pretty big one, to just load up with food, pretty much food and water. And one of the mistakes that I made, the first prep closet that I made up for myself, was that I went out to one of these, like a Sam's Choice, Walmart type store that sells things in really big containers. And I bought these really big cans that were like, this big around. And I bought as many as I could fit in my closet, actually, vegetables, fruits, and well, that's pretty much all you could get in those big cans like that. And then I did buy like bags of rice, as I recall, and beans, just a few things like that. But anyway, what I found out over time is that, of course, this was quite some time ago, and the crisis just seems to take forever. It never gets here. But anyway, is that when it was time to rotate, because they all had expiration dates on them. And FYI, I've learned that if you things, it has a best by date on things like canned goods and beans and rice, but I have learned through my own research that things like that, they pretty much last forever. If you put them away at least 20 years, as long as you check on them periodically to make sure the containers haven't been compromised. But anyway, I digress. I found out when it was time to rotate these big cans, that since I pretty much lived by myself most of the time, and I had this big giant can of like this big round of peaches, and I opened it up and I ate a few peaches, and I was like, okay, the next day I ate some more peaches, the next day after that I ate some more peaches, and by the time I got about halfway through that can, I was just sick of peaches, and so I just threw the rest of them away. And I decided I wasn't going to waste all that food after that, so I ended up making things for friends and family members, like, okay, I made a big giant peach cobbler and gave that away, and then I would just go through and just make crock pots of soup with peas and beans, and it was really a real pain just trying to get rid of all that food and not waste it. So what I learned the next time around when I did my prepping closet was that I decided to buy just a lot of just little cans like this. And I have found that this definitely works out a lot better. Not only can you fit more of a variety of fruits and vegetables in your prep closet. But when it comes time to rotate things, you don't have, a million peaches to eat. You can just open a can and make yourself happy. And another thing that I learned, when you buy these little small cans like this and put them in your prep closet, it's definitely worth the time that it takes to write the expiration date and with a big marker so that you can see it and see it easily, because when you're trying to look in there and see this little teeny tiny things on here, half the time you can't even see them, and it's just very time consuming. So the time it takes to write that on the front before you put them in your closet, you'll find out later it's worth it. And because you do, that's another thing, is you want to make sure that you can rotate these cans. So you put the, common sense would say you put the newer ones in the back, pushed up to the front, and when you go to make a crock pot of vegetable soup for your whole family or whatever, to use some of the stuff from your prep closet to keep it from getting too old, you just take things right off the front. And I found that organization is also key. It's worth the little bit of time you take to put like all the peaches in one row, all the pears in another row, etc., etc., with the expiration dates on it. It just makes it so easy to rotate the stock and to use, and it's when you go to make something, it's right there at your fingertips. And as I was joking with my sister not too long ago, and I was telling her about suggesting that she might want to get a prep closet, and I was telling her, I said, just have like one whole shelf of fruit, canned fruit, and the second whole shelf was lined up with just nothing but canned vegetables. The third shelf was all just canned meats like tuna and chicken and such as that. And then, of course, the rest of the shelves, I think it was like 3 or 4 of them, were all lined up with hair color, because every woman over 50, unless you have a regular salon that you go to for that, we know how important hair color is. But I digress. Just a little joke. Anyway, another thing that I learned was in relation to bottled water. I found that it definitely works better to get the smaller bottles of water as opposed to the 1-gallon jugs, unless you use 1-gallon jugs on a regular basis. Like sometimes I would use them to make like a pitcher of tea or something like that. And the one thing you have to watch out for, I learned the hard way. I had some of these things stacked just on top of each other in a closet, and I just, the bottom of the closet. I knew enough to put the water on the bottom of the closet, but it happened to be some carpet down there in the bottom of that closet. And I came back at some point in the future, I don't remember why, just to check to see what was going on in there. And the gallon jug bottles had kinked from the weight of the other bottles of water sitting on top of it for a long time without moving. And when they kink, they tend to get the plastic cracks and gets like teeny tiny little holes in it. And over time, the water seeps out and leaks and gets the carpet all wet. So anyway, that was a big mess. I had to clean that up. But so I found that if you buy the packs of the small bottles, and when they're surrounded by plastic, if you stack those on top of each other, so far, knock on wood, fingers crossed, I haven't found that they really leak, but I imagine that's because I rotate them frequently. But if you leave them there for a really long time, I could see where it might have a problem with leaking. But anyway, there are lots of other things I've learned. I just don't have time to talk about it in this video. I'm trying not to make it too long, but I will say that I did make another video 2 or 3 years ago about prepping in regards to food and water. I would plan to put a link down below if you want to go check that out. It mostly talks about some other tips on preparing with food and water, but it mostly talks about how to get drinkable water from like a creek or a river, or, well, probably not a river, but anyway, just the way to get drinkable water if from rain and creeks, if you don't have access to bottled water, and for whatever reason maybe the water has been turned off, it's not coming out of your faucet, so that might be beneficial if you wanted to go check that out. Anyway, I'm out of time, so thanks for watching.